All right, we are live on the YouTubes. I'm going to hit the cross post. Yeah, for some reason I got some retries here. I'm not sure why. I'll worry about that later. And as soon as I've got confirmation that we are live, we can give our introduction. That looks good. And that looks good. Okay. Make sure I'm unmuted. It's always my rookie mistake. Nope, I'm good. All right. Hey, this is Shaun with the GoTennis podcast, powered by Signature Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And today is 10 minutes of tennis with world-renowned tennis coach, Australian in Puerto Rico, Justin Yeo. Today, we are going to do an Australian Open wrap-up, and Justin has some thoughts. We're going to talk about the new wave, and I don't mean like a secret handshake. I'm talking new players coming in. Justin wants to share some thoughts on that. Before we do that, Justin, can we do a quick Australian Open wrap? The 1 seed wins on the men's side, and an unseeded female American wins on the women's side. What are your thoughts?
Sinner, just too strong, too solid, too strong. He's only, as far as I'm concerned, he's only going to get better because he's still very young. So we may have found a number one player that's going to be for a while. I have had a lot of people talk about Alcaraz, how talented he is, but maybe he just can't get it all together because he's sort of in between Kyrgios and Sinner because he's very creative and whatnot. But I do hear that he's behind the scenes. He likes his women and he likes his parties and he likes his. So you just like, as far as discipline goes, the way Sinner is disciplined, I think we're going to see him stay there for quite some time. He's the real deal, and he's now got this solid belief against who's against him. Like there's only 2 or 3 players right now that are going to push him. And he's really got the upper hand right now. So that's an easy one to talk about. The big fame, as far as I'm concerned, is to see her go through. I thought it was around round 2 that I watched her, and I was like, finally, she looks comfortable. She believes in her swing. She's got all these things coming together emotionally on the court. She's got the capability of doing something for the last 10 years, and it all came together in one tournament. But I really, really hope she holds on to the experience she just gained, because she knocked off some of the best players on the female side that have all proven success. And she did it with class, style, and the biggest word for me is belief. She just believed she could finally do it, and she did it. So I just think that is absolutely the biggest comment of the whole tournament is Madison Keys. She is just amazing. I always knew she had it, but it was always up and down. And finally, she just believed she could do it the whole way.
So a little bit of advice request. How do those of us create that belief before we've won anything? Madison had never won a Grand Slam, but to believe you can do something like that, people are going to call that delusional if you don't ever accomplish it. If I'll use one of my favorite examples is Richard Gasquet. I am certain that guy believed he was going to win a Grand Slam. Now, maybe it was because of external expectation in his case, but you had to believe it at some point. I think Tsitsipas thought he was going to be a dominant tennis player. I think he believed. But if you don't do it, is it not just delusional? So how does a player, or just a regular tennis player, believe like that?
That's a probably amazing question, for the reason that you're now describing what a tennis professional is all about. There are many of us that didn't get to that level, and that level, as far as I'm concerned, is a certain level of arrogance and belief in their skills, their talent, what they can do, their drive, their improvement all the time. I've got to improve. If you talked about Nadal, if he writes a book, one of the things he's going to talk about is every day he just got up and the grind happened. Every single day. So it's just something that's driven in him, and that's what makes a top 10, top 100 player, is you just don't stop. And we were going to talk about the new wave. That's basically the new wave. If you look at the average age, it's 27 in the men's, 25 in the women's. If I look at the top 10 of the women's, there's multiple women on the upper scale of the 20s into their 30s in the top like 15 players in the world. On the men's side, majority of them are 27 and above. So you talk about belief, they've got to keep going and keep going and keep going and say, I can do this, I can do this, I've got this, I've got this. Otherwise, they're up against the wall of trying to make it into the top 100. And then here's another cool thing. If you look at the top 100 in the men's and the women's, especially the men's, it's like all these thousands of points at the top. And then from all the way to almost top 50, there's only just barely thousands, right? So it really is a hunt, a go for it, a belief that you don't stop. And as long as the body can keep going, we're seeing players keep going. I mean, Dimitrov is now 11 in the world. You know, I was talking to you before this that we got a lot of players now that just hung in their career, hung until Federer and Nadal and technically a little bit of Djokovic now is getting out of the way, that they can actually now make a decent living and try to get their rankings way up there. So there's a new wave as far as I'm concerned of what's going on.
And you mentioned guys earlier like Jordan Thompson, and of course you're going to key in on the Aussies. But then it isn't just talking about the young guys anymore. We talk about the young Arthur Feast and the guys that are 20, 21, that are working their way up. Everybody likes the Ben Shelton conversation if you're an American. But in this case, if you really think about some of these guys that are, you know what, I just never was going to beat the big three or the big four. That just wasn't going to be me. But if I can keep playing into my 30s, I can make a pretty good living and get into the top 20 because we're not all just getting nuked in the third round by the top three guys.
That's exactly it. They're sort of talking about this new wave. As long as people can stay healthy, they're maturing later as well. I mean, Alcaraz has got tons of maturity to go.
Yeah.
They've all got plenty of time too, as long as they stay healthy. And we're seeing that. We're seeing players go all the way. I mean, just like I said, Verdasco's 40 and he's still playing. I don't know how, but there's players out there. And I guess my point is that we're seeing a different wave of tennis now. And they're a lot older. The younger players, yes, they're coming about. Mickelson, we're seeing some of these young bucks that have just come in and they're doing some great stuff. But it's going to take a long time to mature, to really hit the consistent amount of wins. So that's what I'm seeing is different now.
And I think that's the maturity that we're talking about, because if we look at, sometimes it's just talent, where maybe back in the day isn't the right phrase, but you got the talent that's there. So you've got your 20-year-old that's in the top 20 or top 30 because he's just so freaking good. You look at Alcaraz, like he's every shot in the book. And then you think, okay, well, what happens if he's actually mature? And in that case is that, you know, if you were a kid, if you were a junior playing, we'd be on the coach and the parent saying, your kid's got talent. He's got the hard work. Where's the maturity? We look at a Taylor Fritz and say the guy's mature. He's focused. He's hardworking, and he's going to be as good as he's going to be. He's got that maybe delusional belief. I think one of his buddies called him the delusional concept that he's going to be a winner at the highest levels. But the young guys are just talented, and that's fine. But to stay there takes that maturity, and maybe there's a maturity and a combination of that delusional belief that makes somebody win on a weekend. Like, that's really my question. We all can look at the superheroes of the game, but how does that filter down to me on the weekend? How do I believe delusionally that I can beat you? Shaun Boyce is going to beat Justin Yeo, and I believe it when we get out there on a weekend. I have to believe that, even if nobody else does.
Yeah, well, again, it's all about how much you're putting in. Are you putting in the work? Are you working on the tool bag that you need, certain tools? These days, it goes way beyond that, because now they have their data guy and their statistician, and they have all these other things that they actually look at how they can break down their opponents and see whether, okay, I'm looking at a draw. As I look at a draw, these are the players I'm going to play. These are the toolkits I need. These are the things I'm going to practice or get in tune. And there's a lot of things you have to continue practicing and getting better and better and better all the time. And it's not just in technique, physicality, skill. It's to do with tactics. It's to do with getting ready for certain court types as well, because it's totally two different games. We're going to be moving on to clay soon, so that's going to be a game changer. We'll see Alcaraz probably start to flip the players really east-west, and we'll see whether Sinner can survive that. And so, yeah, there's a lot of flavor going on, as probably the best way to describe it. But you said something about what can we pass down. Probably the biggest thing to pass down as a talent development coach from Tennis Australia for many years is, I would say, kids need to learn responsibility as quick as possible. The more they're making them a responsible parent to child or coach to child, the more they're getting stronger and stronger maturity skills are working. Otherwise, everything's done for them. The bag's been carried, or the restrings, or everything's been given to them. All of that stuff is then going to make it later to mature later in their careers. So that would be the thing I would hand off to parents and coaches right now.
Trying to target early maturity. I like it. Justin, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been 10 Minutes of Tennis with world-renowned tennis coach, Australian in Puerto Rico, Justin Yeo. I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
Love doing it. See ya. Yeah, we probably didn't talk about enough of the women's there.
Where's it's all right. Hang on. Oh, get us out. There we go. We're out. Are we out?